Hello and welcome to another episode of the Weed and Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, the Rebel Professor Ryan Barton Lash, the eccentric enigma, along with Gus. And today we are getting right to the bone of the subject that everybody is talking about. Hulk Hogan, Terry Bollea, is dead at 71. And yeah, uh, it's a big deal. Um, not even arguably, the most famous man from wrestling. Pretty much, he made being a famous wrestler being famous. Like, and uh, and yeah, there will never be someone like him again, especially for that time, that era, of all of it. And we got a lot to talk about when it comes to him. So yeah, how you feeling, Gus? How are we feeling here?
Well, first, let me shout out our colleagues who are not here with us, Lanaya and Will.
Yep.
We know that you had some circumstances that came up that didn't allow you to be here tonight. But shout out to you
Yep.
guys. Thank you for allowing us to do this podcast. As far as Hogan goes, guy, listen. I would be a liar if I didn't tell you that as a child, Hogan was it for me. Like I was a diehard Hogan fan.
Yep.
Call me a mark, call me a sellout, whatever you want. But as 6, 7 year old me watching WWF TV, watching Hogan, bring out the yellow and red and rip off his shirt, I was his biggest fan, along with millions and millions of others that bought into his gimmick,
Yeah.
bought into his
Yeah.
persona. And, just I literally was about to go to sleep because I work overnights, as many of you already know. Um, when my coworker texted me, "Yo, Hogan died," I'm like, "What?" So I don't buy into things right away, and I saw that a couple of news outlets started reporting it. But when I started buying it was when TMZ, which is a pretty reliable source, actually reported it. I was
Surprisingly.
like, "Oh, this might be yeah, this might be real." So yeah, you know what? So let me just take a moment before we go into this and just offer my condolences to anyone who Hogan's family, any close personal friends. Like I think I mentioned this to you guys before, but I was blessed with the opportunity to attend two training seminars with Ted DiBiase, who actually wrestled Hogan, and he's a very humble guy, very sweet guy. So, shout out to the wrestling community at large who is mourning at this time.
Absolutely. And shout out to Lanaya and Will. Sorry, I forgot to include you guys weren't on the podcast. Good save, Gus. Yeah, and yeah, definitely my condolences to his family. I know Brooke just had twins just recently, like 8 or 9 months ago. Um, and yeah, I'm sure it's hard for them. Um, and yeah, like him or hate him, he's going to be a misfigure. Um, and depending on
Well,
which
he's
way,
a human being, first of all.
yeah, he's a human being. Yeah, yeah, and it was pretty shocking because just yesterday, Bubba the Love Sponge had said that he wasn't able to talk, and so far, just because it's Bubba the Love Sponge, sometimes his credibility is denied, but it turns out he was right. Um, and yeah, it's definitely a tragedy. I believe from what I read is that he had cardiac arrest and he was pronounced dead by the time he arrived at the hospital. And he had been dealing with health issues initially initially the claims of his declining health, of him being on his deathbed. TMZ had reported that, and Hogan's wife had came out and denied it and said that he was healthy, that he was just suffering symptoms from a neck surgery that he had just had. So I mean, as somebody that did it for as long as he did, and everything else, really making it to 71 as a wrestler from that era, is for that long is pretty incredible. From the initial 10 WrestleManias, the only ones that are really left alive are Bret Hart, Ted DiBiase, Jake the Snake Roberts, and I forget who the other person is. I forget who the Ricky Steamboat. They're the only 4 people from that era of WrestleManias that are left alive.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing that he lasted this long. I mean, they died in their 40s and 50s. Hell, I'm reaching 50 myself, and like it's one of those things that the way things were run back in the day, like as we all know now that things are more out in the open, they they suffered through hellacious schedules. They were working like 50 weeks out of the year, going from town to town, partying, drugs, alcohol. There were some of these wrestlers had vices. I mean, you've seen some of the documentaries, like even Jake the Snake. He admits that he has had a drug problem in the past that it cost him a lot, not just his career, but also in his personal life and his family. Hogan was lucky enough that he made some smart choices financially, that he was pretty well taken care of, and his family was as well. He was pretty well off. But like you said, yeah, he lived a long life.
Yeah, and which we'll get into it here. Some of the highlights of his career, and some of the controversies. He is a polarizing figure to many. Which shout out to Lanaya and Will for them not being on here, because we'll probably end up talking about it again when they are able to be on the podcast. But I'm excited to see those two go at it about it.
You're not lying.
That's our Weed and Wrestling match of the century with Lanaya and Will.
Well, you saw the meme that I posted earlier. Lanaya lost her Joker.
Yeah. But the man did have a storied and very long career, which my screen will probably freeze up. I wonder if I can't really minimize notes on here, I think. But I'm going to switch over to the notes here real quick. Can you hear me?
Okay. I hear you. Okay, I don't see or hear you.
Yep. I'm back.
Okay, I see you now.
Okay, you couldn't hear me?
Yeah, I got you loud and clear.
Okay. You could still hear me, but you couldn't see my face?
No, I couldn't see or hear you, but I see and hear you now perfectly.
Okay. Yeah, this is my new phone. I am not the biggest fan of. Because I used to be able to be okay with switching over certain stuff.
Okay, you froze on me again, so
Alright. Yeah. Doesn't look like I'll be able to really switch over to my notes that well. Maybe I can copy and paste it into the private chat.
looks like he just got kicked off. So let me take this moment to shout out our sponsor. Today's technical difficulties are brought to you by W.GG Energy Drink. Check them out. They're a good alternative to some of the very, very sugar-packed energy drinks that are out there. Again, that's sugar. Excuse me. That's WDUBBY.GG. Ryan, are you back? And he's still frozen. So we're still having technical difficulties, but definitely check out the website w.gg for your next energy drink. All right, so
Hey,
there you
sorry.
go.
I can hear you when I'm over on there. I'm just trying to go over to the notes, and I'm going to copy and paste them into the private chat so I can see them.
Gotcha. All right.
So just give me 1 minute.
All right.
So you can't.
So just filling in some empty space with some random talk. For any of you guys watching out there, I don't know if we have any comment that you guys can post or any conversation thread, but if you could have Hogan do one last match before his passing, dream match for you, whether it's old school match or an old school opponent or a new guy, just mark down who you would have loved to have seen Hogan do one last match with. Are you back?
Yeah, I just put some of the notes in there. I just got them into the private chat here. So, yeah, Hulk Hogan. His real name is Terry Gene Bollea, and yeah, his early career. He started wrestling in the late 1970s, and he was discovered by Jack and Gerald Briscoe, who liked his physique and all that, and they started training him through Hiro Matsuda. And the big thing with his training with Hiro Matsuda is that on his very first day of training, he broke his leg doing the training. So that's a pretty hard first day. But he went on to wrestle like a lot of people, like especially over in Japan. Antonio Inoki is one of them. You had shown that in our chat that video of him and Inoki, which it seems that his better matches, his less gimmicky matches, were obviously in Japan. To where he was doing more real hard style wrestling. But yeah, everybody remembers the first WrestleMania, the tag team main event of Roddy Piper and Hogan and Mr. T, and I am now forgetting the name of the other guy.
I believe if I'm not mistaken, it was Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
Yeah, Paul Orndorff. Yep, the name slipped my head there for a moment. Um, but that was one of the biggest rivalries, and the first time that a celebrity was brought in for wrestling
Yeah,
in
and you know what?
in that capacity.
Yeah, you know what? I think that that is one of the events that put wrestling on the map. You had wrestling, which up until that era, wrestling was just like a sideshow entertainment that was like it was a guilty pleasure. It was something that you don't speak of.
It was like,
It was like turning on to the Playboy channel when it was all blurred lines and you're like, oh, you know what I mean? It's like one of those things. Um, you know, but that event, led by Hogan, as we all know, the rock and wrestling era, brought wrestling to the forefront. It wasn't a word anymore. You had celebrities like you said, like Mr. T and Cindy Lauper come in and give uh an essence of some glamour to the world of wrestling, which up until then was pretty dark.
hmm yeah, it definitely helped bring it to the mainstream. That and his appearance in Rocky 3. Um,
Hmm.
those were like the two biggest factors into like kind of getting that started. But the Hulkamania really officially started when he beat the Iron Sheik for his first WWF title.
Yeah,
Um, that was the real start of the larger than life um, character that he became. I think he went on to have seven seven reigns, and he has the second longest reign behind Bruno Sammartino. And he's and one of the controversies that Vince actually helped him start up with was beating Bob Backlund's WWF title reign by 1 day.
mm,
Yeah, Vince and that made sure that it happened so that he could at least get him above Bob Backlund, because he didn't want his dad to have all the top spot, and
yeah,
so he made sure that he could extend out his stuff so that he could beat him just by 1 day, but he still beats him by 1 day. It's like 104. It's like 1,413 to 1,412. It's pretty ridiculous. Um, but yeah, that's how big of an icon he had became for the industry, that he would hold it there for over 3 years, pretty much.
yeah. At that time, that was pretty much unheard of. I mean, you had champions like, and the thing is, um, if you look back at that era, you had some great, you had Ricky Steamboats, you had the Macho Man, you had Jake the Snake, you had these guys. But I mean, Hogan was something. There was something different about him at that time. He was something fresh. He was, this big, larger than life guy. He was this guy that everybody got behind. I don't care who you were. If you watched wrestling or you didn't, you knew who he was.
hmm
So he brought something, and I think that helped uh Vince keep the title on him for as long as he's kept it, for as many times as he kept it.
Yeah, yeah, and he had even gotten. I think it was his seventh and final title reign. Was in 2000. Was in 2003. Um, it was shortly after the WrestleMania X8, WrestleMania 18 match with The Rock. and he went from NWO Hogan back to Hulk Hogan.
Gotcha.
Which that match right there, that's the match between Rock and Hogan, one of the most unique matches of all time. In the idea that they set it up that Hogan was coming in as a heel, and it was the crowd, it was the WWE universe going off and being like, "No, we're cool with Hogan. We like him again." And changed the whole tone and the whole volume of that match and what that match ended up, meaning in the long run for both of their careers. And yeah, I mean, those are two legends of legends right there. Talking about matches, I heard you earlier when you were mentioning dream matches that you wish you would have had. Hogan and Steve Austin. I don't think that ever happened.
No, I don't think it ever happened either. I mean, it was one of those things that I guess I mean, even Steve at the time was almost at the end of his career. I mean, he had two bad knees, and I think he was looking for some other stuff to do, and it was just the whole Brock Lesnar thing that set him over the
Yeah,
edge. But real quick, back to that Hogan Rock match, dude. That was magic. That was just
yeah,
the right elements at the right time. It was a perfect storm, and you had this legend in Hogan who was literally at the end of, like, nearing the end of his career. Um, Showing that he could still go, still hold the crowd. The Rock is this up and coming pup in comparison. I mean, he's established at the time, but in comparison to Hogan, he's just this pup who's who's got this charisma, this energy. He can move the crowd with the simple movement of his eyebrow. That is an
yeah,
amazing feat in itself. And for them to go at it at that stage was just, I mean, for lack of a better word, it was magic.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Um, another one of big matches was him and Andre the Giant. Um, him body slamming Andre the Giant. I mean, that's a move still played in WWE highlight reels. To
Listen,
this day.
listen. I'm gonna. I know this is probably gonna get a lot of heat on me. I know, looking back at that match, people look at it very fondly. I don't look at it too fondly myself. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a good match. I don't consider it a great match. What made it great
Yeah,
was the fact that he slammed Andre, and they
yeah.
sold it as he's the first person to slam Andre. But if you look at tapes
Which he
from
wasn't.
way back, he wasn't. Okay, it was just that he was billed that way. It was billed that way as like he's the only person that. And let's face facts. Andre was this monster of a man that you could not defeat him unless he wanted you to defeat him. Like,
Yeah.
he did things in the ring, like, literally, bro. I listen. I work in a
Listen, I
hospital.
work in a
Sometimes I
hospital.
have to deal with
Sometimes I have
patients who
working
are,
people are,
uh, for lack of a better word,
lack of a better word,
massive.
massive.
Okay,
Yeah.
and yo, are you getting an echo?
Huh? What's that?
Are you getting an echo? Because I got an echo of everything that I'm saying right now. Well, it's not happening now, but anyway,
Oh,
uh, yeah, no. If Andre didn't want to move for you, he wouldn't move for you. He wouldn't lose for you.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So to me, while everybody considers that body slam that he gave Andre like the most amazing thing in the world, I don't think it was. I don't think it
I
was. I
know.
think for
it was for the time, and it was for what it was, and but it's also a moment that Hogan has messed up with controversy in himself, where he went off and he claimed that he was the first one to body slam Hogan. I mean, to body slam Andre. And then there's an episode of Cribs and other interviews where he talks about the boots that he wore when he wrestled Andre, and how Andre died a few days later. And it's not just one time that he said that. He said that a lot. And in reality, Andre the Giant wouldn't die for another 4 years, and they never wrestled each other again.
Yeah, and Andre himself had health issues because if I remember correctly, Vince had to talk to Andre because Andre was busy doing the Princess Bride when they offered him WrestleMania 3. And
Yeah,
apparently he's like, listen, we're just gonna have you come in and be the bad guy, and that really piqued his interest because he'd always been the babyface. But
yeah,
yeah, like I said, the match for me, looking like if we sit down and watch it again, it's a good match, but it's not a great match. To me, what
yeah,
sold it was the build to it, plus the fact that they sold it as Hogan body slamming Andre
body
for the
slamming
first time.
Andre for the first time. Yeah, yeah, and that's one of the many things that goes into to the controversies of his career that he had. You know, the other big highlight, would be Bash at the Beach when he started the NWO.
Yeah.
Um, and that's a moment, and many could argue it's the biggest moment probably in wrestling. Um, the fact that Hulk Hogan turned heel, and that he turned on his friends, and then went with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash to form the New World Order, and everything that happened because of it. Like we don't get the Attitude Era without that.
Well, I mean, listen, Hogan. First off, the NWO was an amazing idea that came to fruition, and Hogan turning coat and joining NWO was brilliant. It was the equivalent
Mm-hmm.
of Captain America becoming a Hydra agent. It was the equivalent of Superman,
Yeah,
becoming a Dark Side's lackey. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's something that you never heard of. You never would have thought of it. I mean, like I said, I grew up in the time where Hulk Hogan had his own cartoon on Saturday mornings. He was on breakfast cereal boxes. He was on like doing late night. He was doing all these things, and then for him to go heel, that was like unimaginable.
yeah.
Like I like, dude, to this day, I was like, my jaw dropped when I saw that moment. I was like, "What the? This is not my Hogan."
Yep. And he even had Bobby the Brain Heenan on his side, like
Yeah.
it commentary and stuff. Hogan's gonna come down. He's gonna give him 1-4. And Bobby the Brain Heenan for decades talk trash on Hogan. Um, so it's probably the most pivotal moment in all of wrestling because of everything that came, not just from that moment, but everything that came after that moment. Um,
Yeah.
that's when it was shortly after that. That's when the real war started, and they surpassed WWF in the ratings
Well,
in
I
the
mean, when you
'83.
have Yeah, well, I mean, when you have a moment like that, I mean, listen, there are very few moments in our lifetime that are earth shattering the way that was, and that was a scripted moment. That was something that was like you're watching, your favorite show, and it's on the equivalent of, like, if we're talking shows, I'm thinking Walking Dead when Glenn, was beaten to death by Negan. It was one of those
Mhm.
moments that your jaw dropped. You could not help it. And the fact that this was just not something that was contained in the wrestling industry. This, if I remember correctly, this was, covered by major newspapers. This was
Yeah.
covered by the news outlets. It's like wrestling usually, if you look at the newspaper, they usually get like a little corner piece just to tell you who won, who appeared, and whatever. No, this was like front page news. This was like on the equivalent
Mhm.
of Bill Clinton, getting a little in the Oval Office.
Yeah, yeah. It was huge. I was watching um Bash at the Beach when that happened. Um, and I couldn't believe it. I was growing up. I was never the biggest Hogan fan, but the really I enjoyed it. I enjoyed him a lot more when he became a bad guy. To a degree, and mind you, which we'll get into some of those. Um, but the character change did everything, and without that, we don't get the Attitude Era for what it became, and Vince McMahon is still pushing out what was going to be our subject: bad gimmicks, worker gimmicks. Duke the Dumpster Drosy. You know, fucking
Akeem, the African Dream,
yeah,
the
Hakeem the
Maxine
African
Booger.
Dream. Yeah. And then you get, but then you also get certain standout ones like Doink the Clown, um, which automatically, at first I was just like a literal clown. Like I remember being a kid and like a literal clown, and then watching him work in a ring, and just had Matt Bourne, his actual name. Matt Bourne came from Oregon, came from a family of wrestlers, and came from his dad had a territory out there. Um, just amazing technical prowess and character work with that guy. But that was the level that we were getting in the early '90s. Is that that you can only really find certain shiners and stuff like Razor Ramon and 1-2-3 Kid. Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart. Whereas at that time too, Hogan's career wasn't doing too hot. Even when he went over to WCW at first, um, he wasn't selling like how he used to. Um, I think the road had hit him, and you can definitely see that in his work in WCW before he turns heel. And but that's also not to excuse either poor planning or poor health. Um, Either or, there's a lot of stuff, especially in the NWO portion of his career, that it leaves a lot to say. Um,
Well, I
Bash at the
mean,
Beach.
listen, the NWO
Yeah,
at one point was oversaturated. I mean, you had half the roster on the NWO. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
it got really, to me, it got really stupid at that point. Like, if you had kept it
yeah.
to maybe
The
the
NWO B team, the
yeah,
literal NWO B team.
exactly. Like, it just didn't make sense to me. Like, if you kept it to maybe like three, four, five core guys, you know what I mean? That would have been fine. But they had half the roster,
Yeah,
they didn't have time to shine, a light on all of them. you have to keep, little bits and pieces here and there. But like back to Hogan, like that heel turn definitely supercharged his career for the second half of his career. Um, Hogan again. Hogan was a big draw, even though he wasn't drawing as much as he was when he first entered WCW, because it was unheard of. Think about it. That's like, Bill Gates, jumping ship and working for another company when he
Going to
created.
Apple.
Yeah, exactly. So it was unheard of. And for him to go heel, that was even more unheard of. We thought he was like this apple pie cookie cutter Captain America. You know what I mean? He was Americana. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So all in all, like the heel turn is definitely something that he needed professionally to give him that boost to make people really turn and look.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And it was so last minute too that it wasn't until the day of.
Yeah,
Um.
because they had Sting originally set up to be the third man.
Yeah. And and then it was the day of. Eric had been bothering him about it. And luckily Eric convinced him. Because that is an interesting prospect. What if he says no, and Sting becomes the third man? Um, what could have happened? That's a big what if. Um, but that's how down to the moment that it was that it wasn't up until like right before he came out that it's like, yep, I'll do it. Um, but good on him for doing that. Um,
Yeah,
and outside of just that, the big problems not only come with the NWO and how it like became too big, but also his creative flaws. Um, which still to this day, I'm pretty sure he's the only wrestler to have ever gotten a contract like this. To have full creative control over his character and his storyline.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Which I mean, I'm sure a lot of promoters look back at that contract. They're like, no one's ever getting that again. That I'm not saying it was the entire reason, but it was definitely a big reason for the downfall of WCW. You know what I
absolutely.
mean?
Bash
Like,
at the Beach 2000. Um, that is just one of the worst pay-per-views of all time because it was just littered with nonsense between Vince Russo and Hogan. It was just those two having a creative battle to the point that Jeff Jarrett just lays down in the ring. And and nothing like that had really happened. There was the
yeah,
outside of the other one with Sting that he had to basically where he almost laid down for Sting. But this was just a straight up Jeff Jarrett just laid out on the mat.
yeah, I remember that. I remember that. Hogan was pissed.
Yeah. Yep.
Hogan
And
was so pissed.
and he left WCW and he went and sued him for like $2.5 million. I'm pretty sure he won too.
All I can say is Hogan definitely had some good lawyers backing him because he got away with murder.
Yeah, as far as we know, in the controversies of other wrestlers, we don't know that he actually murdered anybody. Hopefully not. Uh, but he still had plenty of other things in on top of that because that also that caused so much friction. His backstage politicking. Bret Hart. Bret Hart is a perfect example of the King of the Ring getting changed around to where he has a match with Jerry Lawler instead of Hogan to beat Hogan and get the title. Instead, it's Yokozuna.
Yeah,
And then
that was some straight BS right there.
and then goes off and tries to turn it around and tell Brett, "Oh, he misunderstood what I said. He misunderstood me. Vince didn't understand what I was meaning." Because it didn't just come with that, like, he's not putting you over. It's coming off where he's being told by others that he's saying that he's not in the same caliber of wrestler as him. Hulk Hogan's saying that about Bret Hart. Come on now. Come on
Listen,
there, Mr. Bland.
we all know Brett would wrestle circles around Hogan. There's no doubt in
Yeah,
my head. If they actually went head to head and really wrestled, even mat wrestling, just plain old mat collegiate style wrestling, holy
no
shit,
chance.
Brett would take Hogan to school.
Yeah, it would be no chance. And I think ultimately that's why he didn't want to put him over, is because he didn't want to lose to another face, but two, he didn't want to be upstaged. He didn't want to have a match to where not only is Brett beating him, but he's making it look damn good too. And that's just, I mean, that's just one of them.
Well, I mean, listen,
Hold on 1 second. Let me grab my note real quick.
uh-huh. Well, I mean, that being said, too, while you're looking at your notes, I mean, there are ways around Hogan working the match where he looks good. I mean, listen, Hogan could have gone to school. The way they could have sold it was Hogan could have gone to school on Brett for a couple of moves because he's the bigger guy. Use that power, use that size, and just throw Brett around and slam him or whatever, and then have him come back with like one sweet move or a drop kick or a couple of chops, and then stop that momentum right there. Have Hogan go back on the offense. Do that a couple of times, and then just out of nowhere, have Brett do a small package and 1, 2, 3 surprise victory. Hogan still would have looked good. He probably would have looked
Yeah,
better if he let Brett do something like that. I mean, we'll never know because it never happened. It probably I don't think it ever happened at all.
no,
While they were in WCW together. But something like that could have gone over well, and it would have made Hogan look good. It would have made Brett look good. But
yep,
again, we know his ego came into play. He had that contract. He's like, no, not doing it.
yep. And another one, and this one's a real stinker. Um, him faking his neck injury with the Undertaker
Ah,
when they had the Tuesday in Texas back in '92. Um, apparently, Hogan's big thing was that he was afraid of losing clean to the Undertaker, and was trying to find like some way to make it like a dirty match. And Undertaker didn't know about this. This is apparently going on between Vince and Hogan about it. But then he tells them beforehand, "Hey man, hey brother, I want you to watch it with that tombstone, brother. All right, I don't want you to do anything to really hurt me, brother." And Undertaker's like, "I got you, man. I won't mess it up." He does the tombstone, and then he immediately says, "Ow, my neck!" right after doing the tombstone. And then they bring out medical personnel and everything, really selling this neck injury, this head and neck injury, and that was and at first it was his head and neck, and he's bullshitting this with Undertaker. Undertaker, poor guy, is thinking, I just busted the business. I'm going to get fired. They're going to fire me over this. And then it was about a week later that somebody from the technical end of things said, "You didn't hurt Hogan." He's like, "What are you talking about? I watched the tape. You didn't hurt Hogan. Come watch the tape." And he goes off and watches the tape and sees that his head didn't even touch the mat. That was another thing he tried to say, is that, "Oh, well, your knees were locked up around there, and when we hit down, it twisted my neck." His knees were not locked around his neck, and he tried to bullshit every which way about it, to the point that Undertaker was just like, "Okay, I kind of get who you are now. I get it." And just had to leave it be past that. But he still talks about it today.
Oh,
How
not
he never
anymore.
chose Hogan. No, Undertaker talks about it. He's talked about it on his
Oh no, I thought
podcast
you
a
were
couple
talking about
times.
Hogan. Hogan doesn't still talks about it today.
Yeah, no, I know Hogan never talked about that. No, that was just his backstage politic and BS. That he pulled, and outside of just that, hold on, quick look at notes. You got his stuff with the man Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth. That
Oh God.
that there was the kayfabe portion of it, but then Randy didn't like how friendly that he got with Miss Elizabeth during that time, and then they were having their own marital issues, to the point that Miss Elizabeth came to stay with Hogan and his family, and Randy showed up in a car and like came there and was like, "I just want to talk to her." And apparently 15 minutes later, the cops were called.
Yeah, that was a volatile situation for sure. I mean, first off, Randy, also God rest his soul, but Randy was not known to be very stable when it came to his relationship with women. I mean,
Yeah,
he was a very jealous guy, from what I understand. I don't know to what end, but I always looked at that pairing of Miss Elizabeth and Savage. Like, she always seemed like this timid little girl, and I don't know if she was selling the part on TV, but like there was more to it. Like, I always felt that there was something more to it than her just playing the damsel in this dress. You know what I mean? She
yeah,
was like, I could feel like there was something more behind the scenes.
yeah,
But then again, 6, 7 year old me, I was just a kid, so I
yeah,
didn't read into it.
yeah. And he does cut like an off the cuff promo. Hold on, let me grab the quote real quick.
Did you freeze? I think we froze again. All right. So again, just want to shout out our sponsor, W.GG, once again.
Here, I'm back.
All right. All right, cool.
Yeah, I'm back. I just had to get the text. Yeah, yeah. So this is one of the promos that Randy cut on Hogan. Hulk Hogan, not only are you a hot dog, a grandstander, a showboat, and a prima donna, but you're a liar too. In fact, I remember a time where we stood in front of the man that does nothing but lie, Brother Love, and you told some of the biggest lies that I've ever heard in my whole life. um, Randy kind of calling it as what it is back then, even.
Well, you know what though? I will say that's not his greatest promo on Hogan. His greatest promo comes in his one debut album where he just cuts a promo on a song. What was that rap album? What was the name of the song?
Be a man.
Yeah, Be a Man. Greatest rap song of all time. I say top 5 diss tracks. Just it's hilarious how you go to these lengths to get your point across. But you know, for as much as uh they argued, as much as tension as they had between them, especially over Miss Elizabeth. They had some pretty good chemistry in the ring. They played off each other, and I think they were they were the original 2-man power trip.
Yeah, they were. They totally were. Um, and they played the story. They played the story well with it because that's ultimately what led to them facing off at WrestleMania 5.
Yeah, and you know what? It hit pretty close to home too, because I'm pretty sure what they were wrestling over was actually real life tension too.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. And that given the circumstances in the story, it makes sense. Give me 1 second while I pull another note.
Okay. And I think we lost them.
No, you're not. You're not losing me when I switch over to my notes. Like I could still hear you.
Ah,
I
okay.
mean,
Yeah, no, because your picture went blank. I'm like, I don't see Ryan's pretty face anymore.
oh. Yeah. The big thing before we come to somewhat of a close. Well, there's there's a couple littler ones of lies of Hogan. Um, one of the better ones of where he wrestled 400 days in a year and tried to justify that that because of his wrestling schedule that he once wrestled in New York, then wrestled in LA, wrestled in Japan, and then fly back to LA all in one day.
That dude, even with them not having TSA standards at the airports back then, that is humanly impossible. I'm laughing at the fact that you said 400 days in a year, bro. The
Yeah,
math is not mathing. Bro, I almost had
yeah.
an aneurysm trying to figure out that math. Okay?
He's claiming that the time zone jump between Japan and California made it so that he was in time.
Listen, the time zone doesn't give you an extra 70 days. I'm sorry, Hogan. I know you're being late to rest pretty soon, but it does the math is not mathing. Okay. Obviously, you have a degree in Hulkamania. That doesn't mean you have a degree in mathematics. Um,
Yeah,
but it just uh, I'm sorry. Listen, let me just apologize for anybody who was truly a fan of Hulk Hogan. But yeah, there are certain things that just don't add up. No matter which way
and
you
this
look
is
at
the
it, no
portion
matter
that
how
we're
much
getting
you try
into
to
with that.
justify it.
This is the portion of the podcast that we're getting into that is controversies. Another
So
one
I'll
is
tell you what,
the
before you
yeah.
continue, because it is getting close to that time for me. But why
Oh,
don't we
okay.
do a part 2 of this? And this way, Will and Anaya can also join in on our conversation, and then we can
True.
continue it. But Like I said,
I agree.
listen, Hogan's career is so long. It's gone through so many decades. You have so many matches. I mean, we didn't even mention like him versus Ultimate Warrior, which is like, even though both wrestlers aren't great, it was still a monumental match because you had a champion versus champion, I think, for the first time on WWE TV. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So, we can do like a part two to the whole, because like I said, there's so much to cover, not
And
enough
there's going to be
time.
so many things that come out too over the next few days. I mean, this is still fresh, so
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot more to come out about him and different things that he said. But I would be remiss if I don't bring up the sex tape racist controversy. Yep. So for those of you playing the home game that don't know, back in the day, it was around 2007 that Hulk Hogan had sex with, at the time, Bubba the Love Sponge wife. And not only did they have sex, but it was videotaped. And then when it was videotaped,
It was
he
leaked.
had, he had himself quite the conversation. And I quote, I don't know if Brooke was effing that black guy's son. I mean, I don't have double standards. I mean, I am a racist to a point, fucking N-words. But then when it comes to nice people and shit and whatever, I guess we're all little racist, fucking N-words. And
Oh,
yeah, yeah, that was said by him. And then this tape didn't come out until 2012. And Gawker Media was to put it out, which he did end up suing them and winning on that. But he was then removed from the WWE Hall of Fame, um, and then made this very half-hearted apology um, for saying what he said. And the racism, the homophobia that comes from that, it's some stuff there that, eh, I mean, you're legit saying, I'm racist. Everybody's a little racist. Eh, Just like full on endorsing it. And that's not something or someone that I myself, can get behind and endorse. For those of you who don't know, I was a part of the Occupy Wall Street movement back in the day. And I did that for about 4 years protesting stuff. I've legit fought KKK, neo-Nazis, and alt-righters. Before they were alt-right, they were shitty libertarians. They were really racist ones too. And so I have a point of legitimately hating racism. Um, and one thing that, when it comes to white privilege, I try to exercise my white privilege by showing that I care and that I don't want that kind of shit to happen and go on. Um, I, that I don't see in color, because if you don't see in color, then you're not seeing what a person's actually going through. Um, you're turning a blind eye to it. Might be a friendly way to say that you're not racist, but it's also a blindsiding way to say that you don't understand the culture of somebody else and what they might go through because of their skin color. Um, so it's stuff like that, and all of his other kind of controversies and stuff that I've never been a Hogan guy. I never will be a Hogan guy. Sad that he's dead, because he was a human being and he did have family that loved him and everything. But I don't shed tears for bigots. And you know, on that note, rest in peace, man. I hope that life is good to you. Um, Hope you kind of get called out on some of your bullshit. You're
I'm
gonna have
sure
a
he
hard
will.
time at the pearly gates.
I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will. But I'm
Yeah.
just gonna say
But on
this
that
real
note,
quick. Yeah, I'm gonna say this real quick. It is a shame that a human being passed. There's a lot of news outlets that are sharing the positives that he did throughout his career. There are some people who are focusing on negative. Whichever way you felt about him, whether you loved him or you hated him, whether you agreed with his point of view or you didn't, the man is gone now, and the fact is that he was a big impact on the world of wrestling. He was a big impact in a lot of people's lives, whether it was good or bad. That he still had an impact on people's lives, and an icon is gone. Um, with that being said, just take a moment out of your busy day and go hug someone you love. Go tell them that you love them, because you never know when your last day is gonna be. You know what I mean? So go out and just get off your computer, get a step away from the TV, put down the phone, go tell someone that you love them. Go tell them how much they mean to you, because you never know when your last day will be. With that being said, we're probably going to do a part two this time with Lanaya and with Will joining us. So again, want to thank our sponsor, W.GG. Check them out online. And I hope everyone has a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And I will be back after I'll be back after I get back home from work and watching Fantastic Four at sometime this weekend.
yeah, that's right. Fantastic Four is going on. Um, I'm still afraid. I hope that movie's gonna be good. I really do.
It's in good hands with Marvel, brother. It's in good hands with Marvels. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. But yeah, outside of that, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe. Um, my last little shout out. I think the funniest Hogan controversy is the Wembley Stadium sick kid. You know of this one?
I don't think I've heard this one.
So Hogan claims that he main evented in Wembley Stadium, which he never did, and that there was a Make-A-Wish kid there that was there to see him specifically, and he met him beforehand, 4 hours before the show, and then when he went out and wrestled the match, he couldn't find the kid, and came backstage to find out that the kid died. There was no kid, and he's never main evented
Oh
or
God.
wrestled in Wembley Stadium. But he even said that on the music record that he made with Jimmy Hart, he said that he dedicated a song to that kid.
Only Hogan.
Only Hogan. But that's it for tonight, folks. Come back for part two on Tuesday. Hopefully, we get him there. We get Lanaya and Will. I mean, it'll even get. I hope they get at it to the point to where I just want to like take us off the screen and just watch. Like, just let them duke it
All
out
right,
one
peace
on
out,
one.
guys.
Bye.